The first question calls for reflection on the causes of the persistence of extreme poverty. Based on my own research, I would argue that poverty persists and is often exacerbated by an interlocking network of variables which entrap the poor. These include, firstly, the unevenness in the global economy, which privileges a minority in a world dominated by a neoliberal economic system. Secondly, limited access to training, job experience, and entrepreneurial training in particular for the poor. Thirdly, limited market opportunities for the poor, given the dominance of free trade and the markets by large enterprises in particular. Fourthly, minimal access to finance and key assets such as land. Fifthly, a combination of social and infrastructural variables related to limited access to shelter, services, healthcare, and land. Sixth, interventions tend to be market-based and assume the benefits will trickle down to the poor, which seldom happens. And finally, those living in extreme poverty are often the least able to derive benefits from interventions as a result of structural inequalities and their associated disempowerment. I would argue that the persistence of poverty requires a re-examination of possible support measures at a range of levels. These could range from provision of more effectively targeted state social assistance and welfare support, as well as relevant educational, training, internship and mentorship opportunities, through to the offering of procurement and subcontracting opportunities to the poor. Linked to this would be encouraging attractive market outlets and opportunities for small-scale producers. Equally important is addressing key obstacles, such as access to land, housing, workspace and finance, which inhibits the development of the full potential of the poor. Important also is giving a voice to the poor and facilitating self-actualization and the freedoms which Sen spoke about. In addition, there's much talk about relocalizing development and bringing in a stronger spatial focus. In this context, this calls for local interventions, support for the role played by local NGOs, local social movements, and local governments. All of these need to be re-examined and strengthened wherever possible. In addition, we need to celebrate occasional successes of the economically marginalized where they occur, to create a role model and to promote success as it takes place. Finally, recognizing the role businesses can play as in an attempt to create job opportunities for the poor through corporate social responsibility is important, as long as we go beyond green and social washing. The final question seeks to establish how effective macro policies such as the MDGs can be in eradicating extreme poverty. Linked to the preceding question is my view that while macro policies have the capacity and potential to address certain aspects of policy and poverty, they appear to be constrained by, firstly, their conventional support for market-based interventions and the economic status quo. Secondly, they've often failed to address the root causes of poverty and factors related to global production and trade, which often entrench unequal power and economic relationships. Thirdly, they often fail to address issues of inequality or to give an effective voice to the poor. Fourthly, they tend to rely on a narrow band of indicators without considering issues of power and marginalization. Research also suggests that those suffering from extreme poverty benefit less from current interventions than other sectors of the community. Hence, there's a very real need for macro interventions to be more pro-poor and targeted in their focus and orientation. And these interventions need to enable the poor to help themselves to access opportunities, particularly in the market, through providing appropriate forms of social support, training, and infrastructure. Thank you.